Chanchalam me mana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. The mind of Krishna is restless, strong, turbulent and obstinate, and I deem it impossible to control the mind. It's like controlling the wind. Well, today's topic is thousands of thoughts. It's not really on control. We'll deal with the numbers. I didn't want to frighten you with thousands upon thousands of thoughts. I wanted to make you kind of curious. Thousands of thoughts. Okay. We are defined by our thoughts. Our personality, our character, our individuality is but thoughts. So that which defines us, and how come there are numerous thoughts? What exactly defines us, and how many thoughts pop up in our minds is something that's really still it is not clearly stated. What is thought? Well, thought? A thought is a thought. How do you define it? Thought is a thought. But in Sanskrit, it is called a chitta vritti, a kind of a wave in the mind. Properly speaking, it is called pratyaya. That is a kind of conscious experience, an awareness, a knowledge. When a thought arises, you get some knowledge. So if there is no knowledge, there is no thought. Really? See, the brain itself is about 3 pounds. About 3 pounds. No? About 2% of our whole body weight. But it is a cobbler. It consumes 20% of the body's energy. It's kind of consistency like a soft butter, and that's the reason why a lot of injuries do take place and we are not aware. We'll go through this a little. So, a dysfunctional brain is a hell, and a functional brain can be made into a kind of a heaven. What really defines good and bad? It's a thought. And when we see that the rise of so many mental illnesses in today's world is because thoughts are running amok. Just running. But that's the reason of suicides, violence, divorce, crime, and a whole lot of things. So, if it runs, it's okay. Quietly it runs. But it drags the whole, you can say, existence and tears it apart. Our thoughts really kind of fragment us. So the personality which is made up of all these thoughts that rise, and every thought that rises, it's a kind of a knowledge. Now, every thought is a knowledge. So we'll go down slowly to what exactly is the knowledge. At the same time, we see society has developed amazingly. Why? The same. Because of thought. And down the ages, we have had concrete thoughts, abstract thoughts, poetic thoughts, philosophic thoughts, and thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. We, as it were, stand on the shoulders of those who have preceded us. Yes. And that's the reason why you're saying, if the mind is cultivated, we can develop much faster and much better as human beings. So we have been changing this world through our thoughts. Yes. A thought comes and you would like this thing to be changed. Let's change it. There it is. One thing we have seen over the years, when you ask people, what is the mind? Forget thought, what's the mind? It's somewhere within. That much is known. It's connected with the brain and the body and everything. But if you ask them, what exactly is mind? Though it is central to our existence, yet there is hardly any kind of knowledge about this entity. And that's why we need to, especially when you study Vedanta, all these things, they deal primarily with the mind. Somebody, asks me sometimes, can you read people's minds? I said, no, I can't. And why should I? Hundreds and hundreds of thoughts pushing their way in the people's minds. Do I want to read that? No way. I'll go crazy. So, what happens is, we see that these thoughts, if they would just be thoughts, they would emerge and go away. That's what we see. But somehow, these thoughts, and in the mid-80s, there was a kind of a research done. And they found that thoughts, they influence your respiratory system, your circulatory system, and the metabolic system, everything. So if you have good thoughts, your body becomes healthy. And if you have unhealthy thoughts, your body goes into a toss. So these things have been known, only now they have put it in a kind of a concrete form. Yes, there is a causal connection between thoughts and your physical systems, and which is a good thing, because we can now study the rise of these thoughts and their influence in our lives. So generally what we do is we have a kind of a mental chatter if we are not working, if we are not doing anything. We keep on the mental chatter. And if that stops, then we keep on chattering outside. It wastes a lot of your psychic energy. Oh yes. You wonder, after a nice talk or after a nice mental chatter, you feel kind of depleted, tired. So, one of the first principles of yoga, what are the signs of entering into yoga? Yogasya pratama dwara, the first, you can say, steps, the first door to yoga is Vang Nirodha. Control of your speech. That is physical and mental speech. That's the first sign. You want to go to the higher realms of consciousness, And you need to have that fuel. If the rockets, suppose a rocket wants to, you can say, leave this kind of the gravitational tug, and if it does not have fuel, it's going to stand there meditating. The rocket is meditating. You take it off, there's no fuel. I'm tired. So, well, how many thoughts? We do not know. But like all things, there is always somebody to count such silly things. And somebody has done the counting for us. The National Science Foundation, actually they fund research, and they came up with a very brilliant idea from 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. My God, such a wonderful, it's like saying nothing. It's of 12,000 to 60,000. And I don't know whether it's a meme or something like that. People are picking up. And some are saying it's 80,000, some are saying it's 50,000. My God, what's this? Well, one thing is there. There is a continuous chain of thought rising and falling and rising and falling. So like we hear about, suppose I hear a kind of a nice music. After the music's over, I go, that music runs in my mind. A kind of a brain worm. It loops, either a lyric or a tune or some catchy phrase or word, keeps on. I try to push it away, it doesn't go away. You try it? The brain works like that in certain cases. Well, of course, it goes by itself. So, suppose we are stressed, and stress is everywhere. In whatever thing you don't like to do, the stress levels go up. And when the stress levels go up, thoughts keep on racing. Oh yes. And then we have something like OCD or undiagnosed, you can say brain, you can say injuries, lesions, because of which thoughts are quite fast. So I don't know whether they have taken these things into account when they made them. And of course, it is statistical. You must understand it. Nobody has stayed up 24 hours and 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing like that. And then, besides, in the dream state, thoughts are much more slower. So I don't know how they figured it out, but for all practical purposes, suppose you take. There is actually a psychological window, the present, the now. That is 3 seconds. Yeah, that can be calculated. 3 seconds is quite a long time. So a thought comes, you're aware of that thought, and then it goes away. Where does it go away? Well, it goes away and returns. So, suppose you take one thought as 3 seconds, there you have 1,200 thoughts per hour. God, I'm not even aware of this. Secondly, the studies show that 80 or 85% of our thoughts are nothing but repetitive thoughts. Thoughts which have come, gone, again they have come. Over and over again. Or it's a kind of a chain. One thought gives rise to the second thought and third thought. And most of these thoughts are negative in nature. We are actually full of negative thoughts. And today's society, with all its perfections and imperfections, throws us into a kind of a critical mood. Oh, this is bad, that is wrong, this is good, that is. You keep on and on and on. We make value judgments, and as we make value judgments, most of them are negative. These negative thoughts harm us. Yes, there is no doubt about it. So when we see, how do we understand? So it's like the iceberg, The conscious mind is just a kind of a tip of the iceberg, and down below is a huge mountain of ice. That's the subconscious mind. Thoughts emerge from there, go down and emerge. Both work in a kind of a tandem. Both the conscious and subconscious mind works in a tandem. Like suppose we are not aware of the neurons firing in the brain. Why? It's subconscious. You don't have to see everything. Oh, it's firing. And there are about 85 or 86 billion neurons with about 100 trillion connections. And all they are constantly firing. Where you have some activity, in some part of the brain, they fire some more. The brain is constantly humming with activity. So even if you take one thought per second, that's a very kind of rough estimate, you are faced with a huge amount of thoughts. 3,800 thoughts per hour. What are we going to do? Each neuron that fires, is it one thought? I would propose that a group of neurons fire kind of a system or a subsystem, and it emerges into a kind of a thought pattern. There has to be a pattern. Every thought is a pattern. And it's linked to other patterns over and over again. So there are more neuronal connections in the brain than all the galaxies in the universe. Wow. It's the most complex organ. Very little understood. But it is us. Remove the brain and there we are brainless fools. Sometimes we have brain, but yet we behave like brainless people. So, when we come down to certain things that affect us, like take for example psychedelic drugs. What happens in this case is there is no external stimuli coming to the brain. But the drugs itself disrupt certain old patterns in the brain. And there's a kind of a huge upsurge of chaos. So what happens is people see things, hear things, and taste things. All the five senses, previous sensations become disrupted. And they think, oh, it's a spiritual experience. It is not a spiritual experience at all. The drug has disrupted the old pathways. So it is better to have some external stimulus, because even in sensory deprivation, when everything is closed, the brain itself keeps on throwing up thoughts because it doesn't want to remain empty. It has to do something. And then you'll see somebody and hear somebody or something like that, and one angel had come and they spoke to me. Well, sensory deprivation. So it has nothing to do with higher consciousness or nothing to do with spirituality at all, these things. In fact, it's much better to have a stable brain which is functioning with the senses, and the external, you can say, stimuli coming from objects. So this is how we can understand these things. In India, we say that the mind has got many forms, bahurupi. It can morph into innumerable forms. You try to catch it, it changes itself. Sometimes it's your friend, sometimes it's your enemy. Oh yes, and that's what Sri Krishna tells Arjuna. Your own mind is your own friend and your own mind is your own enemy. So, how do we try to understand this? You can't. It's very difficult. So, it's constantly changing its form. Constantly. Here we are, very saintly, in the temple. And when we go out on the streets, there's a road rage. Oh, that saint has got now road rage. Ah. But it's you. So the mind can play tricks on us. That's the reason why I'm saying, be careful of the mind. It's actually how you feed it, so it behaves. You give it bad food, it's going to behave badly. If you can give it nutritious food, it's going to behave well. Yes, this is the idea. It's how you feed it. It all depends on that. In the French philosopher René Descartes, he's saying, I think, therefore I am. Cogito ergo sum. Well, when you don't think, aren't you there? When you are in deep sleep, you're not there. You don't exist. Yeah, but you know that you exist. So if existence depends only on thoughts, you're going in a big soup. So Vedanta and yoga and all, they say, no, I am, that's why I think. It's not the other way around. I am, that is why I think. My existence does not depend on these thoughts. If my existence depend on this multitude of thoughts, I would have gone crazy. And in fact, it's seen. Insane people, they have thoughts running about. Unstoppable. They can't sleep, they can't eat, they can't function properly. It's constant running about. So, if your existence depends on thought, you're there, this is what you are there. In fact, constant, restlessness can make you crazy. That's why we need to calm ourselves down. We have to, for the sake of our physical and mental health. Otherwise, and you see people sometimes walking on the street, talking to themselves. They are even oblivious to people. They are normal people, everything, but they are oblivious. Those thoughts have become so real. They are kind of gone in an imaginary world and interacting with that person or thing or whatever and talking. This is what it happens. So we need to slowly calm our thoughts. There are hundreds of things going on in our body. At the cellular level, you can't believe it. We are not aware of it. So there are hundreds of things happening in the mind. Yes, we are not even aware of it. Only those thoughts that pop out, all those which have the kind of little strong or little more energy, they pop out. And that's what makes us, I've got this thought and that thought. The mind actually possesses energy, and it constantly hums. Now, when we see this, the subconscious mind, so you put something in the conscious mind, it goes in the subconscious mind, it re-emerges in the conscious mind, and there's a kind of a constant loop, you can say. One thought will give rise to multitudes of a similar nature. Yes. But sometimes the mind scrambles things up. You're thinking in one direction, similar thoughts about a rose. And then suddenly some other thought comes in and puts in. There seem to be no causal relationship, or there are streams of causal relationships. Swami Vivekananda says, one thought gives rise to a series of waves. That's why in the old philosophers in the Nyaya school of philosophy, Nyaya is the old logicians in India, they called it Vyapti. One thought gives rise to a series of thought. You can stop it. It's unstoppable. Yeah, technically, till the series runs its course, can. And then by the time it's running down, another thought comes up. So what's the duration of a thought? We know we've got from 12,000 to 60,000. Well, the duration of a thought is it rises, stays, and merges. Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya. Creation, preservation, destruction. It follows the general pattern of everything in this universe. But it is so fast. That's the reason why you can't catch it. You can't hold on to a particular thought and say, yes, this is a thought. However, there is a method, of course, to stop all thoughts. And that is what the whole of the philosophy of yoga is. But in a normal kind of person, we will find there is something called a hand-eye, you can say, connection. You want to see a person restless? See that person's eyes restless or his fingers. And the person is restless, you see the hands like this. You know, the mind is popping with thoughts. The next indication is breath. When the person is restless, the breath comes in bursts, snorts. The yogis say when the breath is more dominant in the right nostril, the mind is restless. In the left nostril, it is much calm. And when both are balanced, that's a time for prayer and meditation. Oh yes. So that's why the yogis say when you go to sleep, you lie on the left side. That it cools. That's a moon, you can say. That's a moon side of your being. It cools you. This is the sun side. Heats you up. So another thing is, one thought arises, stays for a while, and merges. But we must know that there is nothing in this universe which is independent. Everything is dependent. All physical phenomena, everything right down to the atoms and subatoms, they are dependent on each other. One thought cannot stay in isolation, but it is dependent. The preceding and the succeeding. And it's a vast network. Everything is a network of interdependence in this universe. So we also are our thoughts also are interdependent. That is why we say that we need to understand this fact first. If you hold on to one thought and pull that thought strongly enough, you will pull the whole universe. Really? Yes. And that's why they say, you control your one thought perfectly, you have the universe in your hand. Swami Vivekananda says, yogi becomes as powerful as any god. So he controls all the forces in the universe. So everything is linked. Nothing is separate or nothing is independent. uh, independent. So we are linked, our thoughts are linked to the whole universe, physical and mental and moral and spiritual and whatever, intellectual or social, whatever. The whole thing is a huge network. Well, after all these things, it is very difficult to say, how do you stop the thoughts? So somebody said, can you stop thought? Why do you have to stop thoughts? You don't have to stop thoughts. That's the nature of the mind. It will keep on running. No, but then all these books on yoga, they say you have to stop the mind and this and that. Yeah. I said, are you willing to die? No, I want to practice yoga. Yeah. Breath has an intimate connection with the mind. In fact, when we talk about our numerous thoughts, we must understand that everything that has life in this universe, everything has got a mind. It is life that has manifested as mind. So everything that has life has a mind. Why? Because you see it responding. The trees also respond. Yeah. So there must be some rudimentary form of mind. We don't need to say, oh, it does not have neurons and it doesn't have brains. It doesn't need to. Wherever there's a life force, there is a mind. Yes. So, and this life force and mind, which is intimately connected, to stop your thoughts, and you have got to best way to stop your breath. Really? Yes. But how? You'll die. Oh, you won't die, sir. Not so soon. Not so soon. Like there's something called a kumbhaka when you do pranayama, rechaka, kumbhaka and puraka. That is, you inhale, hold your breath in and exhale. They say don't do this kumbhaka, that is, don't retain your breath within for a long time. Actually, it's not breath. They say it's a vital force, a life force. But as you keep on doing it, he's saying, Sri Ramakrishna says, love of God keeps you a kind of, as you say, gives you a kumbhaka, that is, automatically restrains your breath. Japa restrains your breath. Dhyana, meditation, repeating God's name. Your breath becomes feeble and feeble and feeble. You're breathing, everything is okay, but your breath has become feeble. The calmer the mind is, the more feeble your breath is. And as the breath keeps on going more and more feeble, it stops. And as it stops, the mind stops whirling. It's there, but it's held in a state. So when we hear about samadhi, the mind has become dead for the time being. And then that person is open to higher knowledge, and then when that person descends to this plane, he becomes a sage. He is a sage. He or she is a sage. So it means that this person, this choppy waves that we see on this ocean, that is a kind of a barrier to higher, superior knowledge. If we can quell these waves, we emerge out into higher knowledge. And that is the part of the mind that most of you have heard is a superconscious mind. And the water of the ocean is the subconscious, the waves are the thoughts, and the sky above is the superconscious mind. It is this that's holding us down, dragging us down. somehow we have got to stop it, and then we can do it through breath, or yoga, or devotion, or any kind of thing. Somehow the mind has to be quelled. You can do it through the breath. Keep it. That is, of course, extreme step. But generally, how do we put a check on these numerous thoughts? Well, attention. Just plain attention or plain awareness. The mind, the objective mind, suddenly, oh, this guy is looking at me. So it will become quiet. Like when we look at something, that or somebody, that person becomes self-conscious. So it's like that. So attention is one form of control, putting a brake on that. It's like you're driving on the freeway, and the LA freeway is so well known all over the world. But then you exit, and then the traffic is much lesser. And then you turn down a residential street, traffic is even less there. And then you get into your driveway and into your garage, and there you are. Every thought, the multitudes of thoughts can be gradually controlled. Lessened rather, through attention. Well, those who cannot focus like that, what do? Then the next is work. The mind has become the body. When you say, where's your mind? I don't know, somewhere inside. You're not going to say somewhere outside. That mind has become so identified with the body, it has become the body. That's why you cannot find where the mind is. You cannot separate. You can separate it later on. Oh, this is the gross body, this is the subtle body. But right now, it has become the body. So, the best way is work. Anything. Holy Mother used to be constantly busy. Constantly busy. There's no rest. It is in work you find rest. It is in work that you find peace. It's in work that you find joy. And so this is the best way to control your mind. Best way to control your thoughts. So really, that's an easy way to do it. Yeah. And that's why Karma Yoga has been prescribed. Because if you don't keep yourself busy, then the mind is like the devil's workshop, tinkering with things. That's why, keep it. And in the process, okay, this work belongs to the Lord. I'm just an instrument. Oh, I'm a child of God. Oh, I'm a friend of God. Any kind of relationship you can build. So work is important. And this present humanity knows nothing but just work and work and work. Yes, so you work. Holy Mother says that work keeps your body and mind healthy. They say, Kaje shorir mon bhalo thake. Work itself is Lakshmi. Work itself is the goddess of fortune. So here you have a tremendous, you can say, means to curb everything in this universe. Curb your mind, and you can achieve anything through work. Nothing is impossible for work, for karma. Yes, if you can keep ourselves focused, work in a concerted way, we can achieve anything. Then, how do we, the thousands of thoughts that rise in our mind, some of them are desirable, some of them are undesirable, and some of them are neutral, kind of. Things come up and go and we're not bothered. these desirable and undesirable thoughts emerge, and what happens is we react. The moment we react, we, as it were, are pursuing that thought. And that is what the thought wants. Come with me. And it will go and gather strength and go full speed. And you panting behind it. Don't pursue any thought. Thoughts will come, stay for a while, and go. Let it go. Right? So the moment you react, what happens is you are kind of cutting a deep groove in the mind, because there is an emotional tinge now attached to that thought. Your reaction was a kind of emotional response, and that cuts a groove. And over again, it cuts a deeper and deeper groove in the mind, and the mind runs to those old grooves. And after a while, it becomes terrible. Yeah, yeah. There is some knowledge that leads you to hell. There is some knowledge that leads you to heaven. There is something called non-knowledge. We were discussing in the morning, the earth is flat. And you keep on believing, I know the earth is flat. I know the earth is flat. Well, no, it's not flat. It's round. But no, you're going to. So then after a while, then you say, you bring in all the evidence and say, oh, for years I thought the earth was flat. Now I know it's round. That was old knowledge, which was, it's a knowledge, it's a conscious experience. It is an awareness, it's a knowledge, but this knowledge is useless knowledge. Okay? It has to be replaced. I think that is okay? Yeah. Yeah. See, what happens is, with all these thoughts running about, like you say, even if you have one thought for 3 minutes, 3 seconds, sorry, not 3 minutes. 3 minutes is a huge thing. Okay. We have thousands of thoughts per hour. But then there are so many desirable, undesirable, and stupid thoughts, and all types of thoughts come and go. And what's going to happen to me? Well, Holy Mother says, you don't have to worry. Mental sin is no sin in this age. Yeah. It is only when you translate that thing on the physical level, then the problem commences. Yeah. So we pursue a thought, we keep on pursuing. That guy, that Mr. Thought, he'll run down the nerves and down in your body. He's going to hide about here. And you're pursuing that. So don't pursue that. Don't translate that thought into action. So as long as it is in the mind, the Holy Mother has said, there's no problem. Nice, no? Otherwise, you would have been, sinners. Oh my God, so much sin in our mind. Well, you see, the world is like this. And you will have good and bad thoughts. Because drugs or alcohol or all these things, or even negative thoughts, damages the brain. Brain scans have shown kind of between a healthy brain and you can say diseased brain or a negative brain. There are differences, fundamental differences. And the brain is being plastic, we are constantly molding, remolding it with our thoughts. Yeah, Swami Vivekananda says a kind of tiny hammer that we hit. It's a kind of a metal ball and we are hitting it. We are shaping our brains, and our brains shape our bodies. So, these thoughts, numerous, then what happens is, we are looking at it just from one lifetime. And we've had so many. We won't go into that. But all those thoughts are there. So what's going to happen to me? Nothing. You are going to be safe. That's important. So what a good meditator does, he or she will transcend this choppy, you can say, wavy surface of the mind. That person will never go underneath the subconscious. So you don't need to do that. Constantly fill the mind with good thoughts. And those thoughts, conscious thoughts, will go down in the subconscious. When the mind is full of good impressions or good thoughts, it becomes easy to manipulate, easy to hold on, easy to control. A mind that is full of criticism, enmity, hate and anger, it's extremely difficult to control. So we need to orient our thoughts like that. Slowly we keep on pushing. Then, see, the mind, Swami Vivekananda gives the example. He says, thoughts are things. And that's another thing. Thoughts are things. They travel far. Every thought that emerges from your mind, from your brain, it's a kind of a vibration. All the stimulus energy is coming in and you are reacting and things are going out in a kind of another vibratory, you can say, motion. You signal. So these things leave you and they come back to you. They travel far. So we can change the atmosphere of a particular place. That's why when you go to a temple or a sacred place, you find the ambience, the atmosphere itself is different from what you would get in any other place. Because there, on the football field, in the football stadium, you should not go there and try to meditate. I'm meditating. No. There you go and keep on jumping and dancing. Those thoughts are inimical to your meditation practices, because such people have thought those thoughts there. So each place is influenced by the subtle, you can say, vibrations of our thoughts. Then thoughts, they come, they go, they leave a mark sometimes. Generally, we don't let them go, we hold on to them, and they become karma. They take a circuit of this universe and comes back to you. Yeah. Hey. Well, and in the journey around the universe, it picks up other similar thoughts. It vibrates with them. So if you have sent a good thought, that thought will circulate the universe, and thought is very fast. It will come back to you. With all the other good people who have thought that similar type of thought, that thought becomes more energized. And it will come back to you. Similarly, if you send a bad thought, all the bad vibrations in the universe come and make it into a kind of a sandwich. There it is. Here is your bad thought. But I thought one. Yeah, now it's piled up. So we need to understand that we can change the universe with our thoughts. Yes, that's very important. That's the fastest, the mind is the fastest thing in this universe. Ane jadeka manaso javiyo. The self, the Atman, is faster than the mind. The next fastest thing is the mind. Yeah. And the mind thoughts are really powerful. Like I said, This is a particular object, all these things the object. You must see thought also as an object. Yes, it has a life of its own. We give it life. It's a life of its own. It's a kind of an object. So, slowly we understand. Even in some of the Upanishads, they say that yam yam loka manasa samvibhati. Like, if you just think of a particular plane of existence, not anyone, but a person who has realized the self, those things will appear front of you. You can draw the whole universe to you through your thoughts. Yes, amazing. So, in Indian philosophy, you have the sattvic thoughts, rajasic thoughts, and tamasic thoughts. They are a kind of energies. No? When the mind is in sattva, bright, luminous, calm, thoughts are much less. When there's that passion, that anger, that energy, thoughts are running around. And then we have the tamas, the darkness, the dullness, the indolence. So that's why I get kind of skeptical about 60,000 thoughts. Depends on the type of your quality of a mind. The thoughts will be either less. And then also we have in Ayurveda this Vata and Pitta and Kapha. That those three humors. And in Greek philosophy also we get this those choleric type. They have a mind, thoughts which are very fast. So it depends on the constitution of your body also, whether it's balanced, whether it's not balanced, thoughts will keep on running. When the body is balanced, it's nice, it's steady, thoughts tend to become less. Yeah. So, I was like a skeptical about 60,000 thoughts. Well, these 60,000 thoughts, it could have been 100,000 thoughts. Why not? Why? Whatever is a disadvantage can be turned into an advantage. Holy Mother used to repeat her mantra 100,000 times a day. That means all these figures that these people have given, 50, 60, 80,000, are nothing. Mother and even some of the direct disciples, 100,000 times they used to do a kind of a repeat on the rosary or the fingers. So you can speed up your own thoughts. Yeah. You can slow down your own thoughts. As we have seen, attention, work and all these things. So if you can speed, that's an advantage. Yeah. You can take the name of the Lord so many thousand times without effort. And this is what is called ajapa japa. You are silently doing that repetition of God's name, which you have done for years and years. Now it's become automatic. The thoughts, God rises, falls, rises, falls. Yes. And then with every breath, you are taking God's name. There it is. So don't be dismayed because so many thoughts you have to control. Just convert them into thoughts of God. And there we are. If you can do that, that's liberation. So thoughts bind us. Thoughts can be liberating also. So in the meantime, other thoughts can modify your thoughts. Never try to think, oh God, this has been my character, my personality or my individuality. No. Swami Vivekananda says, all these represent a bundle of traits or thoughts. It can be changed. There is nothing fixed in this universe. Nothing is static. The whole thing is so dynamic. And once we understand it, the thought is behind this dynamism. So you keep on converting these ordinary thoughts into divine thoughts. And one day, thoughts will stop and we will emerge out in the higher consciousness. And then we will become sages and saints and whatever, whatever you want to become. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.